Hi there, and welcome to my reflections on the story and the life of Jesus. And in today's video, we're going to look at wisdom. We see that Jesus has been drawing all this attention in Jerusalem, and now the religious leaders, they want to try and trap Jesus in his words so that they would have a way of arresting him. They were plotting his death already. They weren't liking what he was saying and how he was putting them on the spot and turning their lives upside down and saying how people who were far from God were actually closer to God than they were. And so they designed three types of questions to trap Jesus. The first one that they try to trap him in is they toss him a coin and say, Jesus, tell us, is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar? Now you see, Israel was under occupation, foreign occupation by Rome. And so if he said no to the taxes, well, then there would be a problem with the Romans. If he said yes, then their own people would say, I thought you were here to set us free. How can we be paying taxes to Caesar and all that? And so this was all designed to try and trap him. But Jesus has so much wisdom, and he just says to them, you're being foolish. Why are you trying to trap me? You hypocrites. Why don't you give to God what belongs to God and give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar? Then another set of questions come to Jesus about the resurrection of the dead, and they bring this elaborate story about this man who was married to this woman, and he had a bunch of brothers. He died, none of them had children, and so each of the brothers ended up marrying this woman, but they all died and left no children. And they say to Jesus, well, Jesus, tell us, whose husband will she be in the resurrection? And Jesus says to them, you don't know the scriptures, and neither do you know the power of God. Neither will people be married nor given in marriage in the resurrection. And Jesus says to them that God is the God of the living and not the dead. And so why do they're trying to test him with the question, and they don't even believe in the resurrection, trying to trap him in their words. And then there's this final question that they ask Jesus, which is tell us what is the greatest commandment of the law. Trying to test his wisdom, test his knowledge. And Jesus says, to love the Lord your God with everything that you have, and to love your neighbor as yourself. The greatest command. And now, of course, they've said three questions, and Jesus, with incredible wisdom and incredible words, was able to give them an answer which they were so surprised in. And then Jesus has a turn in asking them a question to which they have no answer. He asks them the question, who is the Messiah? And they said the son of David. And it says, well, kind of saying, great, how can he be David's son if David himself calls him Lord? And they have no idea. You see, Jesus is asking them about a messianic claim. They then, from that point on, they were not going to ask Jesus any more questions. They were going to look for an opportunity that they might arrest him so they could kill him. But here's the thing. My reflection on this part of the story is that each of those moments and those questions have deeper teaching on the inside of them. But I felt like there's this broader subject on wisdom. You see, there's so much intelligence in the world, so many people who are bright and have answers to difficult questions, but not all people have wisdom. You see, it is the fear of God that is the beginning of wisdom. So people might look at you and question you about your faith and question about how silly you are trying to believe God. But can I tell you this, that there is no human wisdom that can compare to God. In fact, God sees human wisdom as foolishness. People try and ridicule us for faith, but it's because they're blind to the wisdom of God. They have no fear of God, so they can't see with eyes that are open. But what I love even more is the fact that we can go to the one who is the source of wisdom. God himself, Jesus, is wisdom. And so when we walk with Jesus, we walk with wisdom. We have access to wisdom that the world doesn't have. So maybe you're facing a situation this week and you need the wisdom of God. Go to him. The Bible says if you ask him, he will give wisdom to you. And more than that, when people question your faith and ridicule you and whatever the case may be, know that you are walking in wisdom and walking in light. I hope that this reflection has been helpful to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this passage of scripture. You can leave it down in the comments below. Hey, I'd love to get any feedback from you on these videos. It'll help me to help bringing you great content. God bless you. I hope that these have been helpful to you, and I'll see you again in the next video.